Imagine the high seas, waves crashing against the hull of a ship, the wind screaming through the rigging, and a group of men and women bound not by law, but by a shared hunger for freedom and fortune. You might think of a lone pirate, a solitary figure striking fear into merchant fleets, but history tells a different story. Some of the most successful and terrifying pirates didn't work alone. They formed alliances that shook the foundations of empires, alliances as cunning and dangerous as any navy. Today, we're diving into the shadowy world of the most notorious pirate alliances ever known. And if you enjoy tales of danger, strategy, and the audacity of the lawless, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and drop a comment telling us where and at what time you re-watching Let us see how far our pirate stories travel across the globe. The story begins in the early 18th century, the golden age of piracy. Picture the Caribbean, turquoise waters and sun-bleached islands, but beneath the beauty, chaos reigned. Pirates, fleeing European navies and seeking fortune, didn't always fight alone. They formed temporary alliances, pooling ships and crews to overwhelm heavily armed merchantmen and even some naval vessels. One infamous group was the Flying Gang, based in Nassau, led by figures like Benjamin Hornigold and later Edward Teach, Blackbeard. This loose coalition shared intelligence, coordinated attacks, and enforced a code of conduct, a rare glimpse of order in a lawless world. Picture a stormy night in Nassau. Lanterns flicker in damp taverns as pirates plot the next raid. The Flying Gang didn't just exchange information about treasure ships. They shared tactics, warned of naval patrols, and whispered rumors of betrayal. Trust was fragile but invaluable. One wrong move, one lie, and a pirate could find himself walking the plank before dawn. These alliances weren't built on friendship. They were built on mutual benefit and survival, understanding that life on the high seas required both cooperation and cunning. But Nassau was just the beginning. Across the Atlantic, along Africa, and into the Indian Ocean, other alliances formed under different conditions. The Pirate Republic of Madagascar, on Sainte Marie, became a haven for outlaws seeking more than treasure. Here, alliances were strategic. Captains from Europe, America, and Asia met to divide spoils, negotiate safe passage, and settle disputes. Imagine the tension flick of a coin, a glinting cutlass, the unspoken threat behind polite toasts. This wasn't just piracy, it was diplomacy on the edge of a sword. Among the most notable alliances in the Indian Ocean was the coalition led by Henry Every. Every coordinated several pirate captains in one of the most audacious acts in history, the capture of the Ganga Soe, Mughal treasure ship. The operation required precise timing, intimate knowledge of shipping lanes, and a chilling willingness to slaughter anyone who resisted. The rewards were astronomical, but the fallout terrifying. Empires demanded retribution, bounties were posted, and yet the alliance achieved what most pirates could only dream of, a strike that reverberated across continents. Not all alliances lasted. Betrayal was constant. Charles Vane, a pirate defined by brilliance and brutality, joined forces for large raids in the Caribbean. But disagreements over spoils often turned allies into enemies overnight. Imagine a night raid on a Spanish treasure galleon, smoke and gunpowder thick in the air, only for a trusted ally to turn back, leaving you and your crew to face death alone. Alliances amplified power, but also magnified vulnerabilities. Trust was both a weapon and a liability, a theme repeated across pirate history. In the American colonies, alliances sometimes blended with privateers, legal seafarers commissioned to attack enemy nations. The line between legality and lawlessness blurred. Imagine a fleet converging on a Spanish convoy. Some captains were pirates seeking plunder, others privateers with letters of marque. Their temporary alliance increased chances of victory while keeping enemies guessing. After loot was divided, each group went its separate way. leaving tales of daring, camaraderie, and treachery recounted for generations. One legendary Caribbean alliance involved Black Bart Roberts, whose charisma and ruthlessness made him both respected and feared. Roberts knew a single ship could only do so much. By forging temporary pacts with other captains, he created a network for large-scale operations against heavily armed convoys. These alliances were organized like a military operation, with signals, codes, and meeting points. Even the most disciplined alliances were fragile. Storms, betrayal, or greed could dissolve months of planning overnight. Pirates thrived on risk, but mastered strategy. Timing and psychological insight, often overlooked in romanticized portrayals. The psychology behind alliances is fascinating. Pirates are often seen as reckless and chaotic, yet these coalitions reveal nuance. Leaders negotiated personalities, ambitions, and rivalries, inspiring loyalty in transient crews. Some alliances relied on honor codes, others purely transactional. But together, they were stronger, faster, and more dangerous than any navy. Alone, they risked annihilation. Together, they could redefine high seas combat. Pirate alliances also illuminate the economics of piracy. Success required coordination, not just brute force. Ships needed supplies, ammunition, and manpower. Ports like Nassau, Tortuga, and Sainte Marie became nodes in a network for exchanging information, bartering goods, and sustaining floating economies. Alliances made this possible. Imagine a web of interlinked ships sharing intelligence, ensuring the next raid was not only feasible, but overwhelmingly profitable. Pirates, though lawless, were cunning entrepreneurs operating under unique rules where loyalty and treachery coexisted. Perhaps the most enduring lesson is the blend of strategy and spectacle. Pirates understood fear's power. A coalition approaching a convoy wasn't just a tactic. It was theater designed to intimidate, confuse, and demoralize. Merchant sailors often surrendered without a fight, not outgunned, but terrified by reputations preceding them. Names like Blackbeard, Henry Every, and Black Bart Roberts became synonymous with dread. Showing alliances amplified both firepower and infamy. Even when empires tried to crush these coalitions, alliances proved resilient. Pirates adapted, shifted bases, and formed new networks faster than authorities could react. Temporary truces, protection agreements, and coordinated attacks allowed remarkable efficiency. Small, motivated bands outmaneuvered empires with vast resources because they understood the seas, each other, and the calculus of risk and reward. Reflecting on these tales, the human element stands out. Alliances were more than tools. They were experiments in leadership, trust, and survival. Captains balanced ambition with prudence, loyalty with pragmatism. They faced moral dilemmas, internal conflicts, and constant threats of betrayal. While some alliances crumbled, others became legends. Echoing through history as audacity, ingenuity, and the raw power of collaboration in the face of danger. So what can we take away? Beyond adventure and treasure, these stories reveal timeless truths about cooperation and conflict. Great achievements, whether on the high seas or in life, often depend on strategic partnerships, navigating relationships and balancing trust with caution. Pirates lived by a brutal code, but within it lay a sophisticated understanding of human nature, power dynamics, and negotiation. As the waves crash and the sun sets, these notorious alliances continue to captivate. They remind us that even in chaos, strategy, loyalty, and cunning can turn the desperate into legends. The high seas were more than a battleground. They were a stage where ambition, risk, and cooperation played out in unforgettable ways. Perhaps the legacy of these alliances lives on, not just in history, but in every story of daring, strategy, and unbreakable bonds formed in pursuit of a dream. Imagine what other secrets the seas hold. History is full of hidden networks, unsung heroes, and plots that changed empires. And as long as stories exist, the lessons of pirates remain relevant. Next time you think of pirates, picture not just a black flag or a lone ship, but a network, a coalition, a living system of strategy, courage, and audacity that defied the odds. Join us in uncovering more legendary tales. Subscribe for more and let the spirit of the pirates guide your curiosity.